you have such a sick fixation about this?
I was not sick. I was doing my job.
Dan, you're sick.
You bitch! What do you know about being sick?
You can see how huge it is that I actually set up my old camera, and we're going to be doing an overview shot so you can see, and I will have it somewhere in there, or you know, I'll move it around. This is huge. It's just big. We'll focus back and forth maybe, I don't know, but this is the box, and as you can see, this is some hell construction for a box. Probably one of the best I've seen ever. Alright, so anyway, what we're going to do is we're just going to take off this huge lid, and I mean it is huge, and this thing is gorgeous, but as you can see, I'm like struggling to just let it drop. There we go. Get some air in there so that that lid comes right off. But you're greeted by your instructions, and then you can take a fast look at that. And that's just for the character. I don't know his name, really, but because I have not seen the anime, I don't even think the anime is in there, and you got all the different positions that you can pose them and everything. And then you got this beautiful, as I drop it, this beautiful instruction booklet, very basic, and what it does is it shows everything that you need and everything that it can do, from the cloak and all the stuff that comes with it, you know, the basics, how this moves, how that moves, the batteries that I really don't have, so it's not going, I'm not going to be turning on the lights. So sadly, I'm sorry about that. I thought that the batteries would come with it, but they actually decided not. So, getting those out. So then you got this hardcore foam, and then you open it up and you see the figure, the 6-inch figure, and all of his clothing. We'll get into the detail on that, but I just wanted to show everything. All of his cloak and everything, all in its own bag. Everything nicely. I just had to show this because of how beautiful it was all set up. And it even goes down, I mean, like, check the sword out with the cloth. I mean, you cannot, like, this alone is worth the money. But this sword is huge. I could use it as a letter opener. I mean, seriously. But that is the sword. And then it comes with the sheath and everything. And you got two heads. You got this one. Get a nice close up of that. But you got that. And just some awesome different setups. But then you pull this off, and it, as I said, it's a thick foam, and it's the good foam. Then you're greeted by this, just the center of the mech, just his chest area, and you open this up to release, to show. Voila. This thing is huge. You can see my hand. And like I said, I will do some comparisons to this thing, because this thing is humongous. And they're coming out with a Titanfall that's supposed to be 20 inches tall. So this is nothing. So let me get this out of the box, get everything situated and set up, and we'll flip it around and we'll get on with this review. So I'll be right back. I give you Full Metal Ghost 3-0. Now I gotta say one thing, this thing is a behemoth. This thing is humongous, massive, big, just, this is a robot done right. You know, this is just a new, complete series. It's not for everybody, alright? There is nothing that you could say about this figure, you know, and it's either you can afford it or you can't afford it. They are next year coming out with the Captain, which is supposed to be a gorgeous blood red. I haven't pre-ordered. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. This is a series that I would want to completely follow every second, every day. The more I look at it, the more I can respect the design, the architecture, the engineering to this thing. It does have a reminiscence of a Gundam through the face. And the original engineer, designer of the Gundam suits designed this. They gave him whatever he needed, and he popped that out. And this thing is gorgeous. From the cloth to everything. Now there's no die cast in this thing. None. There's not a single piece of die cast. This is probably the best ABS plastics you can possibly buy. The only thing that is metal are the springs. And they're actually real springs. Like, these are real engineering springs that you would use for anything. For some kind of mechanical. And they just simply, they come in the pack, and all you really do is, they come with 6 of them. I think, yeah, they're plastic also. And just plug them right in. Just a little twisty twist. You don't want to do too much twisting. They kind of, some of them are really loose, but that's a very minor pick. So don't lose them, because if you lose them, I don't know how you're going to get any others. There are 4 on the legs and there are 2 on the arms. I don't think there's any more. So you get 6 in the package, and that's about it. The construction of this thing is massive, and it is just beautiful in every sense of the word. The engineering. And let me explain something. This thing is a mech. This guy sits in his chest. Well, wait, Rob. How does he fit in the chest? Oh, we'll get to that. And we'll get to this guy shortly, but let's focus on just the mech. Just this, from every little point of view. From the pistons to, you know, now the way of this is the pain in the neck, putting this on. This is the cloak that comes with it. Robe, I forget what the real name is. These things are practically brass, and they've been weathered. So, I mean, it seriously is weathered. You can just tell from the back. And it is weathered. It is greased up. It is seen its war. It's seen days in war. So, I mean, this thing has been through. These actually feel like brass. And they're really hard. They're hard to pinch open, because the only little gripe that I really had, and you know what? The only little gripe that I think I really had was that there are these 2 clips up here, and they actually do come off. And we're going to get close-ups on everything, but I just want to take these off and just show you. They're plastic, but they're really, you know, they're real flexible, but they can break, believe me. This is the only 2 points that actually open up. They're plastic, and 2 of the rings go in there. 1 ring goes in here, and then the other ring goes on the other side. The problem with this is there is a point where I tried looking and looking and looking for a point that these open, And the only point I see, but what I'm scared of is breaking these pipes back here. These are where the other clips are supposed to go, and there's no plastic clipping. So yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking trying to get those on, but once they are on, you're pretty good. So this thing, just every position that you move it, it's just gorgeous. They really did a well job. I mean, I shouldn't say well. They did an outstanding job on designing this thing. And the weathering is amazing. Just so much that is into this figure. From the weathering to the cockpit, to the hands, to the face. I mean, you can see where there is rust. You can't see this. Because this figure is such a big figure, we gotta whip out this thing so I can give you a nice close-up shot. So let's do that right now. Now, like I said before, let's take a little walk around using this thing. But as we get into the head, I mean, just look at this. The weathering just on the chin, going to the chest. The rust, and this midnight blue just completes it all. I mean, it's just a beautiful design. Going to the pistons that are in the arms, and they all do move. From the pistons in the arms, to the shields, to the shoulder piece that actually moves on 2 joints. This thing has it all, everything. This huge shield that actually is 3 joints, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, 3 joints. So you got 1 joint here, you got a joint here and another joint. So you got 2 joints there, and then it also swivels. So it can be swung around to protect him. Or to just protect the cockpit itself. The fingers are completely 100% all articulated. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 joints, and they're all on ball joints too. Right down into the hand here. So you got ball joints right here. I mean, the articulation goes insane from the wrist to the pistons that move up and down, to these side pieces that actually move. Everything and anything that you could think of. And it moves at the wrist here, but it also moves at the hand. So the hand will actually move too, because that is on a ball joint of its own, as you can see. So you got for grip to bend and bend back. This thing was amazingly produced. Just like I said, from even, and that's what's really funny, you got even a toe that actually has articulation. It goes up and down, and that's about it. I don't think it goes sideways. This thing does have a lot to stay to, you know, in that flavor of a Gundam. So if you're a Gundam fan, this is up your alley. I mean, I'm not going to go completely through every single articulation, because I mean, there's 100 points, over 100 points. I mean, you got ball joints everywhere, you got hinges. Let's just say the poses that you could put this thing in would probably scare any other toy. But yeah, both arm pieces actually have double hinges. This one actually turns in 2 ways. You got one here, so let's get this up. Alright, there we go. Stay there. So now we got a ball joint here, you got a hinge here, and then right in here, there's a ball joint hooked to this piece. So, I mean, the articulation, the way that this thing can move is insane. Like, you can, whatever you can think of, whatever you need the arm to do, this will move out of the way. I mean, just take a look at that head sculpt. And then the batteries go right under there. And that little panel doesn't need a screwdriver, doesn't need to just take a nail and just pop it right out. There's the switch. But you got a huge ball joint back here. You know, the leg moves. I mean, there is so much articulation. I could spend 6 hours doing a video and just tell you. I mean, there's leg rotation. I mean, you can move the hip and rotate the hip. Like, right where this ball joint is, it actually can swing the whole leg around. And then in just the thigh alone is an interesting design of, you have a hinge up here, which actually, this is like a double, this piece, you can bend it here, and you can bend it down here. So, I mean, it's just, there's so much. And I mean, you have like this armor ankle piece that actually moves. You have a heel spur that actually moves. Behind the heel spur, I think this actually twists. So, I mean, you got tons of rotation. There's a ball joint up in here in the leg. So, and I don't know how big it is, but it has to be mammoth. They used, I would say, probably the best ABS plastics that money could actually buy. This thing is beautiful. It is a piece of work. This is not a toy that you just buy for your kid. But what they did was they did a very, very, not sloppy job, but they just kind of like tapped it. Just a little dab. Not even enough to really keep it on. When the head did pop off, this part actually just separated and it fell off, this back piece. Luckily there were grooves and I was able to just, get some crazy glue and drop just a little drop just to get that back to tighten it up. The other sad story about this is there's really, let's just say the weapon that he holds, which is this mammoth thing. Alright, this mammoth thing, I'm going to see if I can get it up here. There we go. But this mammoth thing is about the size of him. Alright, if we stand it next to him, it's actually bigger than him. Alright, so this thing is bigger than him. He does have a problem holding this. Okay, he does have a problem holding this. The joints are not tight enough. His hands will slowly start to open from the weight. So there's not really much. The other thing is the sheath on this. The sheath itself does not have any place where to go. I mean, you could try to slide it into the belt over here, or you can slide it probably back into here. But they don't show anything on the instructions of where this thing goes, so it's kind of a slight problem. So what I do is I have it, and all the pictures that I've seen, he holds it in his hand. So basically, I just have this held in one hand and the sword in the other. But again, my fingers are a little loose, especially around this second joint here. So right here, this would be the joint that it's the loosest. I'm going to switch back and I'm going to take this off, and then we're going to go and take a look at the inside of the cockpit, and then we'll get to the pilot himself. Oh my god, we got more light on this subject. Okay, so anyway, I added a little bit more light so you guys can see inside the cockpit better. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of bring out his arms a little bit so all this light can shine into his chest. So the first thing you want to do is, to get into the cockpit, you got to bring these things down. So these are basically like the climbers, because what's really unique about this, and I'm going to bring it down just a little bit so you guys can see this. Just bring it right about there. These actually pull out. They're on a clip. and you just bring it down, and it's kind of like a footstep for your pilot to get inside. So he'd put his foot. The only problem is, there it goes, it clicked in. So these are kind of like footsteps, steps for him to jump into the cockpit, and that's just a nice little touch. You can see how the inside is rusted out, which is really really cool. They got it just perfect, almost practically. So I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. Like I said, the weathering on this is amazing. The next thing you want to do then is you want to bring up this cockpit. Now, this cockpit is on a double joint, so you want to bring it up, and it should move just a little bit up more. No, that's the max. Okay, so we got it up all the way. Then what you want to do is you want to swing open these panels that are on the sides. They swing open, and then this is kind of on a slide. It's on a slide hinge, so you got to bring up, and then you got to bring it all the way down. So the hinge is kind of like, it's a curved hinge, and it's almost like a horseshoe hinge, if you can see that right there. So that horseshoe hinge actually comes up and out, and then that is the cockpit that you're seeing right there. Let me just get some changes up there. There we go. So you got a whole screen up here. You got a screen here, which this actually lights up. These actually move, so they go into the pilot's hands, and the seat and everything that you need to put him in there. Then to close it up, you bring this and bring these forward, bring that in, and then you can bring them back. I find it easier if you just bring it back about here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click it down. And then once it's clicked down, when he's in there, it's going to be different, but we'll get to that in a sec. Bring these panels, close them straight, just close them right up. Bring up these, and then that drops down, and there you go. And that's basically how the cockpit works.